Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and yesterday I stumbled upon this news which says Zigbee2MQTT release 2.0 is coming, and then this is going to contain some breaking changes from the current version. So I did a little bit of digging and I read the release notes and some of the the posts that are related to these changes. So I think it's time to talk about it so we know what's coming. I think in this, I mean, obviously, every change is, it makes me a little bit nervous because not saying I have a very complicated Zigbee network, but I do have a lot of like very basic and, automation that controls my everyday life, and I don't really want them to break. So this is why I am interested. There are maybe 2 or 3 big news. Well, first of all, there is no automatic update in Zigbee2MQTT. At least there was nothing in the current version. Maybe from 2.0 there is going to be such functionality. So if you don't do anything, well, it's not going to be an issue for you. Also, if you don't plan to buy any additional devices, which means that your Zigbee2MQTT network works fine with the existing devices you have, then you can choose not to upgrade and just keep the existing system and the existing version, and everything is going to be fine. And I am using Zigbee2MQTT without Home Assistant. So obviously, if you are a Home Assistant user, I think there is a lot of changes that are hidden under the hood. So there is a good chance that by the time the new release comes out, the Home Assistant will be updated with the relevant changes. So you won't really see a lot of difference. And Home Assistant itself is going to be up to date with the release 2.0 changes. But again, I'm not a Home Assistant user, so I can't really talk too much about that. But we are going to go through the release note, and it has a specific section for Home Assistant. Okay, so I found this basically release or this news here in Discord. So there was already an announcement back in the beginning of November, but now it says the same thing came through the 2nd of December, and it says that you can find some more information here, and I have this one open up, and that's basically like an issue in the Zigbee2MQTT, the GitHub project, which talks about all the different changes. And before I go further, I just want to scroll down because there was a question here somewhere which says when this new version is expected to be released, and they are saying end of the year. So basically it is potentially coming within the next month or something like that. I can't find a reference, but it was somewhere here in the questions. So if I go back to the top, then it says that this new version 2.0.0 is going to contain a lot of breaking changes, and most of these breaking changes is about removing some legacy features that has been depreciated for years, and obviously they have to keep in line with the newest releases. And the way we get prepared is that we modify our configuration.yaml into these settings. So you have all these legacy type of attributes, and they all need to be set to false. And if you have any of them set to enabled, so true, then some of the additional section in this documentation is going to apply to you. And I mean, I use the example configuration.yaml, and I check mine, and I definitely have this Home Assistant legacy entity attribute set to false, and legacy API to false, and under the device option the legacy is set to false. So I'm missing some of these options, which probably by default means that it's off, false or off. So I think I'm ready. And to be honest, I have no idea why you would set to true to any of these settings, because maybe I'm such a recent Zigbee2MQTT user that I never had to use like legacy features. And it says that if the if in the sections only breaking changes when legacy enabled, so if you have them set to false, then you can ignore them. But it doesn't really say which one, if any of these. So which one of these are set to false, then it applies any of them, or is it the device option legacy or the legacy API? So I'm not really sure about that. So unfortunately, I don't think that I'm going to help you with that. But if you're using any of these legacy features, probably it's better that you just read everything carefully here. or maybe not the initial post, but maybe, yeah, some of the other questions as well. And of course, you can use this, issue to ask some further questions. So for the start, it says that they have changed something in the device discovery, so we might get an error message that the USB adapter discovery error. So that's already not a really good news, but they already have some documentation how to fix this. Again, this might be an issue if you are using some older USB adapters. I mean, mine is probably like 2 or 3 years old, so I'm not really sure if I'm going to have this issue or not. But I mean, hopefully this documentation is not really bad, and we can okay, I mean, it's not a huge write-up, so I'm guessing if I run into these issues, then maybe it's going to be easy to fix. I mean, I know that in the in my configuration, I think not in this configuration, but I have set up a separate Zigbee2MQTT server when I was using the Dosan IoT gateway. For that, I had to specify the adapter SZSP. I mean, here when I was using the USB Zigbee dongle, I didn't have to do that. So maybe I would need to do some extra work when I upgrade those systems. But let's worry about that when we get there. So next one is in the installation. There are going to be, you might experience some errors, and in order to overcome those errors or go around them, you have to execute a few other commands, and they are using a different package from, instead of npm, pnpm, which you might have to install first by npm install /g-pnpm. Okay, that's not a big deal, so that can be done easily. So, and now we already got to the Home Assistant changes. I'm just going to fly through them because I don't quite understand most of this stuff. As I said, I'm not really a Home Assistant expert, but child lock entries are now discovered as switch instead of lock. I'm not really sure what that is. It looks like that there are some stuff in the update state and the update available, which is now being removed, and there is a new update entity. So again, that could be important when you are setting up something in Zigbee2MQTT. Okay, external, and then it talks about how it handles external converters. I mean, I haven't used any external converters. I was just always using, whatever devices Zigbee2MQTT is supported by default. I haven't created my own converters for any bespoke devices, so I wouldn't be impacted by any of these. And again, we have something which is only impacted if you have the legacy enabled. So you can see that some triggers work differently. That's all I can talk about that. And then we have a lot of device-specific changes. Yeah, so stuff got renamed from occupancy to presence. Some attribute got removed. As you can see, for all the locks, instead of true false, it says lock unlock. And then attribute for illuminance being renamed. So again, I guess, if you are using obviously Home Assistant, then you probably have to look at some of these Zigbee devices just to make sure that the attributes names are the same. And if you are just using bare, MQTT, then again, if you are subscribed to these specific topics, or you're extracting these attributes, then you have to change and make sure, go through all of your devices and make sure that they are still supplying the same values in the same attributes what you are used to. And it looks like that there is a whole load of additional changes if you have legacy enabled. So I guess these are the legacy device supports. And yeah, I mean, I think it would be really difficult to comb through all of these. But whenever you have Zigbee2MQTT, you have these device models. So I think these relate to, these models, probably it mentions up here, okay, yeah, these must be models. So, I mean, it's a long list, but again, I think it's a good idea to test everything, make sure that you are getting the values that you are expecting, because attributes might change, or some of these might get depreciated. Okay, I already mentioned external converters. So again, I think probably this is only applicable for a few percentage of us who use external converters for devices that are not yet supported in Zigbee2MQTT, so you have to build your own converters yourself. I assume these are the external converters. MQTT API. So that's something that I'm interested in because this is the only way I communicate with my Zigbee devices. So there is some update available property which now been removed, and we use update.state. I don't think I use that, so I have my own. Oh, so these are the OTA updates. Yeah, I don't care about these at all. And some, update available. So these are the Zigbee firmware updates that the Zigbee2MQTT can report that update is available. So yeah, I'm not using these, so that's fine. And there are some things how you can bind and add and remove devices. So you can programmatically do all this stuff, which for which I usually just use the web UI, the front-end GUI interface. So I don't have any implementation for those. But if you have some sort of integration where you enable binding or add remove devices, then you need to check this one, because again the endpoint looks like they have changed, or the topics, the MQTT topics. And then again, there are some changes in the configuration. So, bridge request config. Here, I haven't really used these functionalities before. So, if they are changing, it's not going to impact me. And also you can see some device configuration, and OTA update is changed. So I'm not going to use these. Well, I haven't used these, so these changes are going to impact me. And there are some further MQTT APIs that are very used in legacy, like grouping, more OTA update, and configuration, logging that has been removed. So it looks like that these changes are not really related to actually using these devices. I mean, unless you use the update functionality, or you were talking to the Zigbee2MQTT directly as opposed to the individual devices, then yeah, there is no impact, which is good. Okay, and let's see some remove features and settings. And it looks like that most of these settings are also related to Zigbee2MQTT itself, not so much as the devices, after a quick read. So again, I don't use my, I communicate with Zigbee2MQTT over MQTT, and I use Node-RED in order to, do all my logic. And Node-RED doesn't really, ask Zigbee2MQTT, the whole service itself to do anything, or I don't control it in any way. So this is why I think I don't think that impacted as well. So you see that you can, control the backlist, the block list, the pass list and everything, whitelisting, backlisting. So yeah, I've never used this functionality. And it says now that the state topic is always going to be a JSON object. But okay, but that's again related to the bridge, not to the actual device. So I don't think I use this functionality. I mean, you could use, for example, this topic to tell whether your Zigbee2MQTT, I mean, the whole service itself is offline or online. Yeah, I never cared about that. I mean, it's a good idea to know if your Zigbee2MQTT goes offline, but I never care to check, to be honest. Some more changes to permit join. So again, that's related to the service, and some configuration things for the groups. Again, that's related to the service. And then we have a lot of, discovery stuff with Home Assistant, and, more whitelisting, backlisting, and experimental features, which, again, it is only applicable for you if you are controlling Zigbee2MQTT itself from your application, which I don't. So I was concerned, and then there is a lot of pull requests which is going to be included. So if you're really interested in all the different changes, then you can go through these. Obviously, it's going to be a huge read, but as you can see, I mean, these are things obviously to the service, changes and improvements. There's a lot of fixes itself, but it looks like that in large, it's not going to impact how we communicate with the individual devices. Probably the only biggest change is the illuminance, like, you know, names of the attributes. A few of them have changed, and then only and also the attribute values in some cases change. But that's not a big deal. I think with you know, with a simple testing, these issues can be discovered fairly quickly and fairly easily. But yeah, definitely I would say that testing will be required. Make sure that, you know, check your code. I mean, if you're using Node-RED or something like that, check your code that the attributes, the topics that you are expecting in your code or in your flow are still there. They are not called something different. Those, you know, messages are still sent by Zigbee to MQTT, or the responses that you send in order to control those devices still work. So that shouldn't be a big thing. And of course, it doesn't mention anything that these upgrade would make any changes to the Zigbee network itself. I mean, this is an update not to the Zigbee coordinator, but the, you know, the software stack which runs behind that. So the devices that you have in your network, in your Zigbee network, are still going to be there. You don't have to repair them or anything like that. I mean, that's, I mean, fairly obvious, but when we have a small, big changes to, you know, Zigbee, that's probably a concern. And if you have devices, you know, dotted all around the house and sometimes, you know, inaccessible places, that's probably something that you care about a lot. But, you know, that's not an issue. So definitely it's not going to be such a big hassle to migrate from the current version to 2.0. When I found the initial post, I thought it's going to be big and scary, but actually reading through this, okay, it's not going to be trouble-free, but I think it's going to be, you know, fairly easy. Still, I would say probably the biggest issue, or the one thing that I would be more concerned or, you know, more frightened about, if all of a sudden it says that the it cannot find the USB adapter, so it cannot find the Zigbee coordinator. But again, this post here seems to be fairly short, so I would assume that the resolution is going to be short as well. And after that, you know, just like with anything else, whenever something changes, you know, testing. Make sure your scenarios are working, the scenes are working, your automation are still in place, you can control devices, you can query devices, and then, you know, it should be fine. So once we get there, maybe I would just wait a couple of weeks and then just, you know, see if anything major happens. But probably a couple of weeks after 2.0 has come out, I would also upgrade my Zigbee2MQTT, and yeah, definitely going to do a video about that. And if I run into issues, well, you can see how I managed to, well, hopefully managed to solve them. And if not, then it's just going to be a short video saying that this upgrade was really, you know, easy, nothing out of the ordinary, and, you know, everyone should be doing that. But until that point, I think that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next one.